Batter hasn't even seen the pitcher let go of the ball, since the light carrying that information arrives at about the same time as the shockwave.
Yeah, the batter and pitcher are both gone, but that's not even the worst part of this. Today we're going to be looking at another heavily requested XKCD what if video. Specifically, what if you threw a baseball at nearly light speed, and here it's showing 90% the speed of light. Just in terms of kinetic energy, that should be comparable to a pretty good-sized nuclear explosion. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tyler Folse. I'm a nuclear engineer with a little over 10 years of experience in the commercial nuclear power industry. From engineering operations to emergency response. I don't claim to know everything there is nuclear, but I can certainly share some knowledge. Let's check this out.
This question comes from Ellen, who asks, what would happen if you tried to hit a baseball pitched at 90% the speed of light?
Oh, if you tried to hit one. Wow. That one you're probably better off not swinging at it. Especially because you wouldn't want to be anywhere near this thing.
Let's set aside the question of how we got the baseball moving that fast. We'll suppose that it's a normal pitch, except in the instant the pitcher releases the ball, it magically accelerates to 0.9 C.
There you go. A wizard did it. Yeah, good luck accelerating something like this in some sort of particle accelerator, especially considering this. You'd have to put super magnets on it and accelerate around your cyclotron, but something this size would fall apart long before you even get this fast. So, yeah, I'm glad we're shifting to using wizardry right away. Otherwise, you'd never get there. Kind of like in one of their previous videos of how they got the submarine into space to begin with. But no, nobody's accelerated anything that big in any particle accelerator. It's just, things just aren't going to be in one piece at anywhere close to that speed that are that large. And the mass of a baseball, or I guess I should say the rest mass of a baseball, since we're dealing with relativistic things, is about 0.145 kilograms.
From that point onward, everything proceeds according to normal physics. And what proceeds turns out to be a lot of things. And they all happen very quickly, and it doesn't end well for the batter, or the pitcher. What follows,
or anyone watching the game, or anyone in the city that the game is being watched,
is my best guess at a nanosecond by nanosecond portrait. The ball is going so fast that everything else is practically stationary. Even the molecules in the air are stationary.
Yeah, that is just the kinetic theory of gases, of just air at normal, I'm gonna say it's normal 80 degrees and sunny, but limited humidity sort of temperature. So even the most delicate of pitchers that treat their arms like they're orchids, would be good pitching in these conditions. If you're a baseball fan, I bet you have a few people in mind that I'm talking about that can only pitch under the best conditions possible. But the point is, even the best pitching conditions possible for this particular scenario, it's not even gonna matter. Extreme heating, ionization of the air. This thing is going to be a fireball, assuming it somehow maintains its shape. Could just be like what looks like a beam of energy, kind of like in Dragon Ball when they throw an energy ball or something like that. I think this will be my only attempt trying to use real physics on Dragon Ball.
Air molecules vibrate back and forth at a few hundred miles per hour, but the ball is moving through them at 600 million miles per hour. This means that as far as the ball is concerned, they're just hanging there frozen. The ideas of aerodynamics don't apply here. Normally, air would flow around anything moving through it, but the air molecules in front of this ball don't have time to be jostled out of the way.
Yeah, aerodynamics, yeah, we're dealing with extreme ballistics at this point. And by extreme ballistics, I mean ones that are similar to, say, an asteroid impact. Missiles don't go this fast. Nuclear bombs, as far as the bomb traveling, doesn't behave like this. An explosion would occur pretty quickly in that a massive shockwave would be sent out. I mean, we're talking like a large nuclear weapon. At 90%, that figures out to about 4 megatons. Granted, that's not the largest nuclear weapon ever, but it's pretty far up there. It's about 10 times more than the average strategic nuclear weapon. It's still over 12 times smaller than the largest nuclear weapon, the Tsar Bomba, but that was a ridiculous, impractical weapon, kind of, and only slightly more anchored in reality than this experiment right here.
The ball smacks into them so hard that the atomic nuclei in the air molecules actually fuse with the atomic nuclei in the ball.
So he mentions fusion. I don't think so. So it is going to create high pressure and high temperature, very much so, locally, but it's not it's not going to be in one spot. There's no confinement zone to sustain a fusion reaction. It's just going to keep going, and this fusion zone, this area of high temperature and pressure is going to keep moving. So it's not going to induce any sort of nuclear fusion reaction. Now, what it will do is it's going to release some radiation, because it will create plasma from all these ionizations that are occurring when you're at this speed. And high energy X-rays and gamma rays will be produced from this interaction. So you could have spallation reactions, where you do have some nuclei shattered into smaller fragments. That potential exists, but it's not going to be sustained fission either, because, I mean, nothing about this is sustainable. But it will release radiation, so that part's going to be right, isn't that you're going to get some dose. Of course, anything in this immediate area that's going to get dosed will be either exploded, shattered, probably before it actually gets nuked, or it'll all be right at the same time. So point is, you'll be deader than dead at this point. So you will get nuked by the space ball, but not by fusion.
Each collision releases a burst of gamma rays and scattered subatomic particles. These gamma rays and debris expand outward in a bubble centered around the pitcher's mouth.
Disintegrating pitcher, unsuspecting batter.
They start to tear apart the molecules in the air, ripping electrons from nuclei and turning the air in the stadium into an expanding bubble of incandescent plasma.
What's crazy is, considering how fast this is, it's not going to register on the batter's eyeballs that the pitcher isn't there anymore and before it's too late, because he's saying 60 nanoseconds. Or, as I like to call it, 6 shakes, because one shake is 10 nanoseconds. A weird nuclear engineering unit describing the speed of nuclear reactions. It was all in code because everything else was in code during the Manhattan Project. So, 6 shakes. Good luck hitting this thing.
The surface of the bubble approaches the batter at about the speed of light, only slightly ahead of the ball itself. The constant fusion at the front of the ball pushes back on it, slowing it down, as if the ball were a rocket flying tail first while firing.
Okay, so I guess he means fusion in that we're talking like in the sense of combining, not actual nuclear fusion. So, okay. Technically, welding is a form of fusion too, but it has nothing to do with nuclear fusion. So, just wanted to make that clear.
Nuclear fusion engines. Unfortunately, the ball is going so fast that even the tremendous force from this ongoing thermonuclear explosion barely slows it down at all.
Now, his use of the word thermonuclear, I guess that's technically right, because high temperature is occurring and nuclear reactions are occurring. It doesn't have to be fusion, even though a thermonuclear weapon is usually associated with a powerful nuclear bomb that involves a fusion state. Interesting. Don't often hear the words thermonuclear come up with baseball, but here we are.
It does, however, start to eat away at the surface, blasting tiny particulate fragments of the ball in all directions.
I'm kind of surprised the ball is still in one piece at, what are we up to, 6 shakes at this point? Maybe. It doesn't look like that. It's a plasma ball or fireball at this point.
These fragments are going so fast that when they hit air molecules, they trigger 2 or 3 more rounds of fusion. After about 60 nanoseconds,
He's using the word fusion when he means spallations.
the shell of X-rays arrives at home plate, and a handful of nanoseconds later, the ball hits. The
0.3 more shakes. Oh, man.
batter hasn't even seen the pitcher let go of the ball, since the light carrying that information arrives at about the same time as the shockwave.
Yeah, the batter and pitcher are both gone, but that's not even the worst part of this. The worst part of this is this is going to count as a hit, because he was effectively hit by the pitch, and he's going to get on base, or I guess I should say what's left of the batter is going to get on what's left of base. And considering the yield of this thing is about 4 megatons, the baseball stadium and surrounding area, not much. But as far as the rules of baseball, this isn't a recommended strategy either, just for playing the game.
Collisions with the air have eaten the ball away almost completely, and it is now a bullet-shaped cloud of expanding plasma, mainly carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen.
Wow, a lot happened in that 3/10 of a shake. Cool.
Ramming into the air and triggering more fusion as it goes. When it reaches the batter,
I do have a bit of a problem with him referring to it as fusion, because it's not, I mean, it's high energy collisions, but this is not at all the same type of fusion that happens in a fusion reactor, a star, or a nuclear bomb. But considering how this is going to have the destructive power of a strong nuclear bomb.
The center of the cloud is still moving at an appreciable fraction of the speed of light. It hits the bat first, but then the batter, plate, and catcher are all scooped up and carried backward through the backstop as they
Oh, it got rid of the umpire too. I'm glad they even referred to the umpire. Unsuspecting backstop.
disintegrate. The shell of X-rays and superheated plasma expands outward and upwards, swallowing the backstop, both teams, the stands, and
yeah, 40 shakes. This is all within the fireball. So a 4 megaton surface detonation. I'm gonna call this a surface detonation because it's barely off the ground at this point. So here it is using Nuke Map, which is a great free resource by Alex Wellerstein. I will put the link to this in the description. This is a 4,000 kiloton surface detonation, going with Washington, D.C. as tribute to a certain Washington Nationals starting pitcher that I always thought was a bit of an orchid, in that weather conditions had to be just right for him to be good in the game. So yeah, that yellow radius, the fireball, is 2.44 kilometers of immediately destroyed. The green's the radiation at 500 rem dose, which is likely lethal within a month, though these people aren't going to last a month because the red radius is the 20 psi shockwave and everything is shattered and destroyed within that 3.45 kilometers. Moderate blast, 5 psi, is the gray circle where most buildings are going to be destroyed at 7.27 kilometers. And that big orange one is 19.4 kilometers radius. Everything there is going to get a 3rd-degree burn. Now that's what a 4,000 kiloton nuclear weapon would do. This is going to be more targeted in that it's going to cause more of an effect of everything in that particular direction that it's going. So it's going to be a slightly different shape, and it's going to be more oblong or elliptical than circular, but this should still give a general sense of the size of the affected area.
the surrounding neighborhood, all in the first microsecond. Suppose you're watching from a hilltop outside the city. The first thing you see is a blinding flash far outshining the sun.
Yep.
This gradually fades over the course of a few seconds, and a growing fireball rises into a mushroom cloud. Then, with a great roar, the blast wave arrives, tearing up trees and shredding houses.
Yep, if you're just a few kilometers away, it's not going to be good for you.
Everything within roughly a mile of the park is leveled, and a firestorm engulfs the surrounding city. The baseball diamond is now a sizable crater, centered a few hundred feet behind the former location of the backstop.
Yeah, more than a mile even.
A careful reading of official Major League Baseball Rule 5.05b2 suggests that in this situation, the batter would be considered hit by pitch.
Yep, that's exactly what I thought.
And would be eligible to advance to first base.
That's the best part right there, isn't it? So, a very expensive and destructive and needlessly destructive way to walk someone, assuming we had access to whatever wizard's powers that gave us the ability to do that. I really enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for the recommendation, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.